Welcome to Climb English. Thank you for joining me today. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can enjoy more stories and practice your English with me every week. Today, we will learn English through a simple but meaningful story. Listen carefully, follow along, and enjoy the journey as we practice together. Hello, my name is Anna. I'm 29 years old and I work in a small bookstore in the city. My days are quiet and simple. Every morning, I wake up early, make a cup of tea, and take the bus to work. I spend most of my time arranging shelves, greeting customers, and reading during the slow hours. I like the peaceful atmosphere, even though sometimes I feel a little lonely. After work, I usually go for a short walk before heading home. My evenings are calm. I cook a simple dinner, listen to music, and sometimes write in my journal. Life feels steady, safe, and predictable. I often tell myself that it's okay, because good things come with time. I try to believe that each day has its own quiet beauty. One day, something new happened. A young man walked into the bookstore where I worked. He had just been hired to help with deliveries and organizing boxes in the back. His name was David. He was 35, tall, and had a warm smile that reached his eyes. On his first morning, he greeted everyone with a friendly "good morning," and his voice was calm and kind. When he shook my hand, I felt a little nervous, but I smiled and said, "Welcome." He didn't act like a stranger. He asked questions, listened carefully, and even helped me carry heavy stacks of books without being asked. From that moment, I felt that something in my daily routine was about to change. As the weeks passed, I began to notice how much I enjoyed having David around. He always greeted me with a cheerful, "Hello, Anna," and I found myself smiling every time. During coffee breaks, we started to talk. At first, it was just about books and the customers we met, but soon our conversations became more personal. He asked about my favorite authors, and I asked about his hobbies. Sometimes we laughed together at small jokes, and the bookstore suddenly felt brighter. I was careful not to expect too much, reminding myself that he might just be kind, but each day his presence made my routine feel different. Then, one afternoon, as I was closing the register, he asked softly, "Would you like to have lunch with me tomorrow?" My heart skipped a beat, but I kept my voice calm. "Yes, I'd like that," I said. Inside, I felt a quiet excitement I hadn't felt in a long time. That lunch was unlike any other. We chose a small cafe not far from the bookstore, a quiet place with soft music and the smell of fresh bread. We didn't talk about work at all. Instead, we spoke about life, our childhood memories, and the little things that made us happy. David told me he had recently moved to this city, and he was still getting used to it. Then he added that he was single. The words stayed in my mind like a gentle echo, and I couldn't help but smile to myself when I heard it. From that day, something between us began to grow. He would wait for me after work, and we often walked together to the bus stop. Sometimes the sky turned golden as we talked and laughed. One evening, it started to rain, and I didn't have an umbrella. Without a word, he held his over both of us, and we walked close, our shoulders touching. "I like walking with you," he said softly. I felt warmth in my chest as I whispered back, "I like it too." A few days later, David asked me if I would like to visit the art museum with him on Saturday. I hesitated only for a moment before nodding with a smile. "Yes, I'd love to," I said. That weekend felt like a dream. We walked slowly through the halls, stopping to admire the paintings and talk about the colors we liked most. He told me stories about his travels, and I shared the little dreams I kept in my heart. Afterward, we sat in a quiet corner of a cafe, sipping coffee while the world outside moved quickly past the window. At one point, he looked at me and said, "Anna, I really enjoy spending time with you." His words were simple, but they filled me with a warmth I couldn't hide. "Me too," I answered, with a shy smile. When he walked me home that evening, he didn't rush or push. He only said, "I hope we can do this again." And we did. Soon we found ourselves spending time together often at small parks, cozy bookstores, and little cafes that felt like secret worlds only we knew. David never made everything about himself. He listened carefully and remembered the small details I shared. Once I mentioned that I loved daisies because they reminded me of my grandmother's garden. The following week, he brought me a small vase with a single daisy inside. "For your desk," he said with a smile. My heart softened in that moment. We began to share more of our lives with each other. He asked about my childhood, my favorite songs, and the dreams I had for the future. He never hurried me, and I never felt pressured. One evening, as we walked by the river, he gently reached for my hand. "I've been wanting to do that for a while," he said softly. I looked at him and smiled. "Me too," I whispered. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling with a smile on my face. My heart didn't feel heavy or uncertain. It felt light, safe, and real. With him, everything seemed simple and true. Our relationship grew slowly, like a tree taking root. We laughed together, supported each other, and shared both the busy days and the quiet evenings. At work, David often stopped by the bookstore just to see me, bringing a coffee or asking if I needed help. My coworkers noticed, and they smiled knowingly, but I didn't mind. He even met my parents one weekend. My mother whispered to me afterward, "He's a good man, Anna." Her words stayed with me. One afternoon, while we were having coffee, David looked at me with gentle eyes and said, "I feel lucky to have you in my life." I felt my throat tighten as tears of happiness filled my eyes. "I feel lucky too," I whispered back. Not long after, during a team meeting at the bookstore, he stood in front of everyone and said, "I want to thank Anna, not just for her hard work, but for the kindness she brings every day." The room filled with applause, and though I blushed, my heart swelled with pride. He saw me, not just for what I did, but for who I was. Time passed, and our bond grew even stronger. We spent weekends walking in the park, visiting small cafes, and exploring hidden corners of the city. One Sunday morning, the sun was warm and the birds were singing as we strolled hand in hand along a quiet path. Suddenly, David stopped and turned to face me. His eyes were steady, and his voice was soft but certain. "Anna," he said, "I know we met in the simplest of places, but you have become the most important part of my life. Will you share your life with me?" For a moment, I felt the world grow still. Tears filled my eyes as I nodded. "Yes, David," I whispered, my voice trembling with joy. "Yes, 1,000 times." He smiled, pulled me into his arms, and I felt a peace I had never known before. In that moment, I realized love didn't have to be complicated or painful. It could be gentle, honest, and true. My life was no longer just about quiet routines. It was about us. Two hearts choosing each other, building something real and lasting. From then on, every day felt brighter, every morning warmer, because I woke up knowing I was deeply loved. Dear friends, thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gave you a little warmth and hope. Love often comes when we least expect it, but when it is true, you can feel it in your heart. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't confuse you. It makes you stronger. It gives you peace, and it feels like home. If you are waiting for love, please don't give up. The right kind of love will find you when the time is right. Take care of your heart, believe in yourself, and trust that good things are on the way. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Climb English for more heartwarming stories and English practice.